Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Eric Maxwell. We're going to be discussing his wonderful book, You Never Saw It Coming, A Sickness Begins. Available for purchase through Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com. But people, listen. If you want to gather everything that Max has in store, well, do yourself a favor and head directly to his personal site. And that's MaxwellNoBoss.com. MaxwellNoBoss.com. There you'll find more information on Max himself, more information on this fantastic narrative, as well as find hyperlinks set up to take you to the purchasing page. And people, get this. You Never Saw It Coming is going to be today's anchor. That's really what we're going to flesh out today during this interview. But Max has been putting in work. Okay, he has 6 total titles as of right now, and 3 more on the horizon. So you're going to want to check back into MaxwellNoBoss.com frequently to gather all of the titles the moment that they're completed. So head on over there, pick it up. And I will say, Max was brought to our network, People of Distinction, by some of the best publishers in the business, Author Reputation Press. So if you have a book that you'd like moved, give yourself the best gift you could possibly give and move it through ARP. And you can find out more information on their fantastic company at authorreputationpress.com. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Max, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Max, listen, we're looking forward to this, as I stated, just to have another book to add to the shelf. But also, I think what you've done here is such a creative approach. I mean, literally, it seems to me like a literary version of the game Clue. That's what first came to mind when I was researching your book and preparing for this interview. Now, I know we have a lot of information to cover, Max, but really where I want to start is by learning a little bit more about yourself. So please tell our listening audience a little more about your background.
Well, I'm a retired military from the Marine Corps. I did almost 8 years and got injured many years ago. Born and raised in good old Western New York, Buffalo, and became a dad. And I have 2 beautiful children and 2 beautiful grandchildren. And that's the basis of me and how all this got created. So now being retired, I too had to find something to do. And doing this book and the other books created this ambiance of a extended of myself. So growing up in the city, always been a reader, love suspense and all that type of stuff. But I like all the genres: horror, children, romance, science fiction. And being now where I'm at, I'm able to bring that platform to fruition. So I'm excited about that. And this is what you're getting is the end result of what being in the service and a family man has made me.
Let me be the first person to tell you here on our network, thank you very much for your service and all of the sacrifices that you made protecting our freedoms, and our liberties here in the States, man. We are forever indebted to you. So thank you very much for that. Now, Max, without further ado, man, you never saw it coming. A Sickness Begins. Tell us a little bit more about your narrative.
Well, this is a very personal write that I did because I wanted my first one to be that exclusive thriller suspense. So if you see the cover, what you have is a young lady on the cover with a mask over her face, and which gives you that just her eyes. And then you have the title itself. And so I'm giving you that look of, okay, what is this all about? What is she, or who's coming, or what have you? So as you get into the story, we derive it from my hometown, and your main character is Mr. Benny Brown, who's a top-notch detective, and he has a very successful career, who's a successful lawyer. But to thicken the plot, he has these murders he's trying to solve, but he has a little domestic problem in his marriage. He's a dad, and he's more into his career than being a father. But thirdly, he's got a killer. He can't figure out who the killer is. What's going on? So as the story develops, all these things he's dealing with, and then at the end is when we bring it all together and blow you away.
You know, Max, let's talk about inspiration for a second. Now, first and foremost, your background, or at least for 8 years of your background, I believe is what you said you served for, was in the military. Clearly, I mean, there might have been writing involved, but that's not your main focus, right? So I really want to start, when we're talking about inspiration, first and foremost, where does that love for creative writing come from?
It started from my dad. When I was a kid, didn't have much going on, typical kid. But my dad was a reader, a very, very strong reader. So what he would do is he would get me a book to read every week. And my job was to read the book and write an essay, a story. And of course, he already read it. So that's how he would ask questions to know that I read the book. And the first book he gave me was The Hardy Boys Mysteries. And right then, those stories have forever been on my mind all my life. And I love the way every book they were getting into something. Every book they were solving something. And I would start to imagine and create my version of how I would do it if it was me. But I was 10, 11, 12, Then I got into sports and it was over. But now it's coming to full circle. My father for doing that, because it allowed me back then to really open up where my imagination for not only writing, but reading as well. So this is how everything came to this point today. And I have to say that's how my inspiration got started, with my dad pushing me to read at a very early age.
Now, sticking with the concept of inspiration, but getting more specific to this book, what inspired you to write this narrative, for you never saw it coming?
Well, suspense. I've always been a suspense lover. I'm a huge Alfred Hitchcock, Rod Serling, Stephen King fan. So I wanted to write something that would trip your mind, take you through the macabre, so to speak. And so the first one was made. And usually a good, juicy story is, the murders, the killers, because those are your top shows, the NCIS, the Criminal Minds shows.
Right.
And the reason they're on for so long on television is because people like that. And so I wanted to do my way, my version. And the way it came out has been phenomenal. And so there you have it. With those three guys, Mr. Hitchcock, Mr. Serling, and Mr. King, is how we do it.
Again, we're here on the line with Eric Maxwell. We're discussing his wonderful book, You Never Saw It Coming, A Sickness Begins. Available for purchase through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or directly through his personal site, MaxwellNoBoss.com. Max, next question that I'd love to get into, man. I'm curious, what would you say was a highlight for you in writing this book? Or if not a highlight, maybe something that surprised you that you weren't anticipating before you began on the journey?
The cover. The cover surprised me. I try to do that first, but I end up writing the manuscript first, and then I did the cover. That was the birth of it. And if you notice, when you look at the title, it's not Y-O-U, it's the letter U. Mm-hmm. And that's the standout. You never saw it coming. And the killer is not just an average killer or serial killer. He has a sickness. And that was the highlight to bring this out, why he does what he does. But we don't reveal that until we get closer to the end. So all along, you got this character who's trying to figure out why all these murders are going on. Still in, who is this person? Why are they doing this? And then we give you the explanation and everything at the end.
People, as I mentioned to you before, this is not the only book that he's written. There are 6 completed and published, another 3 on the horizon. I mean, look, the canon just keeps getting bigger and bigger. It's the gift that keeps on giving. So when you go to his website, MaxwellNoBoss.com, and you look into the other books, we have The Birth of His Revenge, Black Bondage and Love, Run, Milk Dud, Run, Powerful Words, Powerful Change for a Powerful Life, A Boy Named Milk Dud, and then, of course, this one here that we're discussing, You Never Saw It Coming. Guys, there's so much to get into. Max, we have a few minutes left here on the show, and I'd love to go into one of your other titles. You have so many of them. Listen, you could talk about one of the 5 other titles that you've written already, or you could talk about one of the 3 that's still upcoming. But please talk to us about another one of your titles.
Sure. Well, in the next week or 2, I just finished up. Well, Milk Dud, real quick. Milk Dud is a trilogy. It's a series. The first one is A Boy Named Milk Dud, and the second book is Run, Milk Dud, Run, and the last one just finished, Milk Dud, the Final Chapter. And it all is one big story about this kid named Milk Dud, and that's along the lines of what I was telling you earlier about the Hardy Boys. He gets into mystery and everything, and he's got these 4 friends that you don't know if they're real or imaginary that follow him through all their stories. And then we have my science fiction one that we just finished, 400 IQ, The Power of the Mind. This is a fascinating story because it's about a modern-day Frankenstein young kid who was born with 2 brains. His IQ is over 400. He can speak 40 different languages, but he has a wild imagination, and he realizes the power that he has, things come to pass when he thinks about it. So he's curious about outer space and all that. He's tired of being on Earth and ends up on a planet of aliens, and the story begins. And then the one we just finished that I'm real proud of, too, as well as all the other ones, is a story about a young attorney who wins every case in court. He knows the law like the back of his hand. He can speak it verbatim backwards, and he wins every case. But the problem is the court system gets upset with him. And they change the venue. They change the judge. They change the bailiff. They change the guard. They change the secretary. And now all of a sudden, when they change everything up, his clients start to get murdered, and he can't figure out who it is. So we call it Murder in the Courtroom, where justice is served. And that's the good taste of what we got coming for you.
Listen, people, I'm going to be the first person to say this. Max already knows this, I'm sure. I mean, he's a very intelligent individual. I'm sure he knows this already. I'm going to be the first person to say it here on our network, though. Guys, listen, pick up the book, but also make sure that you're paying attention to seeing any of these titles on the big screen near you very, very soon. I mean, these are narratives taken directly out of a Hollywood film. If you haven't been approached already, Max, about creating, a script for any one of these books and developing it into a screenplay, listen, man, be patient because people are going to come knocking. What you're doing here
I look forward to it. Thank you.
So unique. It's so refreshing. It's so original. Listen, how can people not help but get on board? And we know Hollywood is always looking for new ideas, new journeys to embark upon. And listen, man, you got a canon, okay? And any one of the books that you just mentioned would be more than sufficient to be on there. Listen, last question, Max, as we close out of this wonderful interview. I'd be doing my listening audience a severe disservice if I didn't close out with this next one, okay? You're someone that has written 6 books. You have another 3 that's getting set to be released very shortly. You are a bona fide author, man. You've not only gone through the process and written each one of your narratives, but you've taken it a step further and gone through the gauntlet of getting them published. And anybody that's been through the process understands writing the book is only half the battle, right? So I want to take this opportunity, Max, for any new writers out there listening in, someone just starting out, what are some words of wisdom that you may be able to relay to them?
First of all, be humble, be patient. Just believe in what you're writing. Keep the imagination strong and long, and that birth will come. And the reason why we have so many, because I have it on a short platform. So my books are, 50 to 100 pages. Keep it short, keep it to the point, and drive for attention when you write your story. Don't give up. Stay strong with it daily. Write everything down. That's a big one. Write everything down, and just imagine as you go on every day how you want that book to look, how you want the story to go, and before you know it, you'll be amazed at the outcome.
I absolutely love it. And you know what I love even more is we're at the end of the interview now. We've discussed so much information, and yet somehow we've barely scratched the surface. I mean, there's still so much left to be discovered. As I mentioned before, You Never Saw It Coming is only one of the title and really the mountain of work that Max has created. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, MaxwellNoBoss.com are the places you have to go. You Never Saw It Coming, A Sickness Begins is one of the titles you have to pick up. And E.R. Maxwell is the author you have to thank for bringing it to your table. You surely will not be disappointed. Head on over there today. Pick up your copies. A wonderful book for you to add to your shelf. An even better gift to add to someone else's. Max, this has been an absolute pleasure, man. Thank you once again for being a guest with us on People of Distinction.
Awesome. I loved it. Thank you so much.